Well, Jeb Bush getting pressed multiple times this week about his brother's decision to launch the Iraq War. The latest line of questioning coming from a 19-year-old college student in Reno, Nevada yesterday, who claimed ISIS was actually created, she says, by President George W. Bush. Watch this exchange.
The threat of ISIS was created by the Iraqi Coalition Authority, which ousted the entire government of Iraq. Your brother created ISIS through the Iraqi Coalition Authority. You don't need to be pedantic to me, sir. You can just...
Al-Qaeda had been taken out. There was a fragile system that could have been brought up to eliminate the sectarian violence when we had an agreement that the president could have signed. They would have kept 10,000 troops. Look, we can rewrite history all you want, but the simple fact is that we're in a much more unstable place because America pulled back.
So it started with a question from Megyn Kelly earlier in the week, and it kind of went on and on and on over the course of this week as Jeb Bush, who is not technically running yet, starts to get his feet in this water. I'm joined now by Julie Roginski, former political advisor to late former Senator Frank Lautenberg, and she is a Fox News contributor, and Kevin Jackson, radio talk show host, the executive director of The Black Sphere, and the author of Race Pimping, who is here in the studio with us for the first time. So it's good to have you, Kevin. We've interviewed you lots remote, so nice to have you here today.
Thank you.
How's he doing, Kevin?
I think he answered it great. When he said pedantic, wow, I thought he was thinking, I'm talking to a fifth grader, and you can actually use a big word. Just this idea, there were a couple things that she said. One, that about American exceptionalism. What is the issue with college kids about American exceptionalism? What is it about this country that we shouldn't feel proud about, number one? And then she doesn't have enough information about ISIS to fill a thimble. And then to try to put it on the Bush, that we weren't even using ISIS terminology back during the Bush administration, that we were fighting Al-Qaeda, we were fighting terror, but we were not fighting ISIS.
Yeah, it's interesting, Julie, and I wonder if it's by design in some ways, that the discussion has gone way back. We're talking about 2003 now. Yeah. And does that serve Democrats well?
Well, it doesn't serve Jeb Bush well. And, to some extent, Jeb Bush's raison d'etre is that he's a member of this dynasty and he's running and he's got a lot of influence and has had a lot of influence because of who his father and his brother were in his own right. He was obviously a governor, but he got a very prominent family. The problem for Jeb Bush, and it started, as you said, with Megyn, and continues this week and will continue for the foreseeable future, is that he will have to own his brother's policies, which are not very popular on either the left or the right, for the foreseeable future. And that is a huge albatross for any candidate to have. And so as he tries to be his own man, as he tries to establish himself as his own candidate, this horrible albatross that he's going to have to deal with.
He should have a very thought out answer to this question that enables him to separate himself from that or embrace it. Either one. He can separate or he can embrace.
I don't think he has to separate himself from it. I don't think Bush has anything to be, discouraged about in terms of what his brother did. And in fact, he's right. By pulling out, we've certainly allowed ISIS to take a foothold in a place where we shouldn't have. And I think the left can argue that.
Here's what I find really politically interesting about this, because, Democrats don't want to talk about ISIS as the JV team. And this serves Democrats by putting the conversation way back to the beginning of the Iraq War, when in essence, what all these candidates should be answering questions about is how they're going to deal with what's on the ground today, because that is what matters the most in this election. How will you deal with ISIS today? I want to play a little bit because Marco Rubio is trying to delineate his own position on all of this. He spoke yesterday at the Council on Foreign Relations. Here's how he talked about this whole issue.
Not only would I not have been in favor of it, President Bush would not have been in favor of it. And he said so. I do not believe that if the intelligence had said Iraq does not having a weapon of mass destruction capability, I don't believe President Bush would have authorized to move forward.
He's saying, knowing what we know now, he would not have gone in.
Well, I think, a lot of the people are putting positions on it. I heard Rand Paul talk about it. He pretty much clearly delineated his position. To your point, it is going to be a political hot button, but I think it is going to work against the Democrats because it's clear that America has fallen backwards when it comes to fighting the war on terror. So that's...
Well, you know, the problem again is that you can't set a house on fire, which is what we did in Iraq in 2003, and then say, but wait a second, I did a good job trying to put it out. I mean, you set the house on fire.
But we
That's exactly what it was.
we have to deal with what's going on right now.
Listen,
that's what we have to deal with.
Eric Erickson had the best idea of all, which is why don't we take at least one debate and focus on what we're going to be doing in 2020 and not talk about what we're going to be doing against each other. I think that's a great idea. I think it's what you're suggesting, and it's something that both sides should probably take under consideration.
Julie and Kevin, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.